Welcome back to another learning video. In this learning video, we're going to look at Analysis 101 multi-criteria IFS functions, particularly the SUM and Average IFS functions. With this, we're going to start by looking at the data, understand what we're looking at. We're going to look at each section of the spreadsheet to understand what it is we're trying to do. If you don't gain an understanding of what you're trying to do, you may struggle with building an IFS function. Now, the IFS function, all it does is allow you to either sum, average, or count based on multiple criteria. Therefore, you have to determine the action. Are we summing, are we averaging, or are we counting? To determine the criteria, the first thing you have to do is determine the criteria range and determine a specific criteria. So let's take a look at this in the spreadsheet. Let me close this down for a second, and we'll go over to Excel. Now here I have a spreadsheet open, and let's take a look at the spreadsheet. So we're going to sum sales channel, month, and current. These are the criteria. Criteria 1, criteria 2, criteria 3. Why don't we just label those? Criteria 1. And we can just copy and drag that over real fast to show what we got. Criteria 1, 2, and 3, right? So we're there. We have all three criteria. Now let's take a look at the data. When you're summing, you need a data set. So what are we summing? So we have three criteria. We have three columns here: sales channel, month, and current. The only thing we're doing in this point is we're summing sales. Okay, I can do a couple things. I can average sales or I can sum sales. Take a moment to think about what we're doing. We're looking at the sales channel, the month, and current. So there's three criteria, and we're going to create this equation. Now this equation basically breaks it out by summing the sales for criteria 1 based on specific criteria, which is in A6, criteria 2, specific criteria in B, and finally a third criteria, which is column C and C6. So you need to map each one of these into its respective places. So let's go through this, but you have to map. So we already know that we're going to come into total sales and we're going to sum total sales. So we're going to pick sum IFS from the function builder. Then we're going to sum, let's just sum it. Let's click the column, total sales. Don't worry about the total in the bottom because you can only go specific criteria. All right, so that's what we're summing. It's very clear, we're summing the sales. Then criteria 1 range. Well, what is criteria 1? You see it right here, sales channel. We go back, we click on the sales channel. All right, that's very clear. That's criteria 1. Now, what specific criteria in sales channel do we want? Well, we want to see Facebook Marketplace. Then we're going to do criteria range 2, which is the month, right? We click the whole column, we're going to grab the month. And then, like anything, what particular month are we working with? We're going to say December. So now we've gotten two criteria, but this great thing about the IFS function is that they can allow you to pick multiple criteria. So criteria range 3 is going to be current, whether this campaign that we're doing or marketing we're doing is still current or is it just an older one. And so we define those as 1 or 0. In this case, we're going to say current is 1. And therefore, we have all of our criteria set up and we're able to build an IFS function. I'll close it off. Now, interestingly, the sum IFS and average IFS have the same syntax. So if you just change the word from sum to average, it will work in that regard. So you got this average IFS, who's in this case is actually identical to the sum, which is kind of disturbing. We go back and make sure. Average IFS, some details, all the averages, and we're done. We'll double test it all just to make sure. We'll come back. Doesn't really make sense. Oh, there must not be very many records. So if you put a data filter on, but when it happens, you have to look at it. We did Facebook Marketplace, right? And you check Facebook Marketplace with filter 1. The month, remember from the month thing was December. We look at December. We check off December. You see there's only one record, so the sum and average are the same. There we go. Now you've completed an average IFS and a SUM IFS and a double check of it. I hope you enjoyed this video.